Just, I don't think it's really going to work with Lincoln. I don't think USC is going to be good for the foreseeable future. Like I don't think it's really going to work with Lincoln at the level in which that they thought when they traded or signed him or however the hell that worked.
You have to have a core toughness, and at least he's trying with a new defensive coordinator. But I think it starts at the top. His Oklahoma teams are always soft.
Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Coach B, and we are podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. And also, we have Coach B. His Twitter handle is, I'll let him say it for you.
It's BLUE DVL, his Twitter handle. Blue Devil, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we out here.
We out here. We outside. Kendrick already said it. We outside.
We outside. They not like us.
outside. You come on contribute to this show, but you got something else going on in your own backyard. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's coming soon to the theaters near you. We run the yard. It says college football, all things college football. We're talking recruiting. We're talking college conference rankings. We're talking about NIL. We're talking about everything you can think of college football. We are on it. It's myself, Chef Smitty, who has been a contributor on many different levels. My guy Reese, who is really HBCU inclined. He went to Norfolk State, but he's a Miami fan. I don't know how that happens. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, you know, we talk everything from Power 5, NAIA to HBCU. We spin the gamut. We're gonna have a lot of different guests on, a lot of different people on to just say, you know, talk what they know, right? A lot of different coaches on. You know, I have my guy Coach Chris, who coached down at Southern. He's back in coaching high school ball. My guy Joe, who has been from Jacksonville State to JC ball. We're gonna have a lot of different guys on, a lot of different things and giveaways. Don't forget giveaways. So that if you're active in the community, it's gonna be on EV Mux. We'll have some things on playback so that you can ask questions or even come up and talk to us live. We're going to do a couple of different things so that you guys can be interactive with us, test your knowledge. Just know, you come up there, be ready. Just be ready.
Be ready. I've been in spaces with these guys, with some of these guys. If you're not, I mean, just don't. It's not a casual space. I'll put it to you that way. This episode of the show is brought to you by ActivelyBlack.com. ActivelyBlack.com. Put on your PORSBR Twitter and the promo code. You get 10% off. Some of the finest activewear you could possibly get. And then, you know, I always get my my white brothers and sisters who say, I don't know if I could wear a shirt that says Actively Black, because I mean, I want to support, but like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I could wear a shirt that says Actively Black. They have a whole collection of Muhammad Ali stuff to wear. They got the Wakanda collection as well too, so you can check out that too as well. So if you're worried about just doing that, they got plenty of stuff for you to wear. But that supports the ActivelyBlack.com during Juneteenth as well too, and then also supports the Put On Raiders podcast, the Student Body Right podcast, and the signal caller as well. Let's get started. So let's just play this clip. It's a clip of John Middlekauff talking about USC football, and we're going to react to it on the other side.
I don't think it's really going to work with Lincoln. I don't think USC is going to be good for the foreseeable future. Like I I don't think it's really going to work with Lincoln at the level in which that they thought when they traded or signed him or however the hell that worked.
You have to have a core toughness. And at least he's trying with a new defensive coordinator. But I think it starts at the top. His Oklahoma teams were always soft defensively. And when the chips were down, they just didn't give you that feeling that they were going to fight through it. And that's despite having incredible offensive talent. The Kyler Murrays, Baker Mayfield basically was a god in college. All of this great offensive sizzle never paid off because they didn't have the defensive stake. And I think it's the same situation here. I think it's a black eye for the program to go out and to be linked to a statement saying that you want to get out of a game. You want it to be the opposite. You want to say, the hell with it. We'll go play in Death Valley and we'll show you that we're not afraid of anybody.
Yeah, to me, if you substitute Oregon for USC in this game, they'd be licking their lips because it's a home game in Vegas.
All right, cool. So we heard the clip there. I've been getting like a lot of. It was funny that I'll ask Coach B for a topic today, and he was like, "Hey, we should talk about this and that," and my DMs were filled with that stuff too in the text line as well. I'll let you go first. What were your first thoughts about the clip we just watched?
Ignorance. It was ignorance. That was my first thought. My first thought was ignorance because we understand that we've been lacking defense, right? We understand that. No one's running from that. No one's hiding from that. I mean, me and you have talked many times on your show, offline, online, about our defense lacking, right? But the guy goes back to Oklahoma. And this is where I have a problem with people. You go back to Oklahoma. Well, who was Lincoln Riley's DC at Oklahoma? The same DC we had the first 2 years at USC. Alex Grinch. So what the hell do you expect him? Why do you expect something different? Why can't you give us a chance? Listen, not a big fan of his father. He was the Chargers. Not a big fan. But the dude seems that he turned around UCLA's defense, right? We have other coaches in the building. So just to ignore that seemed to me it was ignorant. It seemed very ignorant to what we've building. You're not even considering anything else. Coach Henny is a guy, right? He's a guy. He's not a jag. He's not just another guy. No, he's a guy. It's dog work. He's creating a culture. It feels like Coach O. When Coach O built a culture at USC on the defensive line, I feel like Coach Henny's doing the same thing. So to ignore that to me is ignorant.
Yeah. So, all right, one more time. Hold on, my kid's still up. So, all right. Let me start again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So my experience with like listening to John Middlekauff, when I first started listening to him, he was I'm almost at play-by-play. No, he did the post game for the Raiders, right. In the Bay Area. Him and and he had a podcast with Guy Haberman for years. So I liked him because he didn't sugarcoat losses. He didn't sugarcoat when the Raiders were terrible, and I think and that's probably knowing how the Raiders are. If you're part of the Raiders media and you don't kind of kiss their behind, you're not gonna get. You're either get shut out or you're gonna get fired. So he worked for the Raiders, and that kind of ended up happening to him. He throws shade on the Raiders and deservedly so, because I don't like that kind of thing. Like, one of the big things when I was on the East Coast was when the Yes Network started. John Steinbrenner hired Christopher Russo and Mike Francesa, and when the Yankees were bad, they destroyed the Yankees. And he took it. Steinbrenner took it. Mark Davis didn't want to take it, so they just got rid of him. Good podcaster, good broadcaster. I respect the work because he's been doing it for a long time. But they're not going to do a deep dive in USC. They're going to just live on the result of okay, they were 7-5. They had Caleb Williams, whatever. They're not going to go into who Danton Lynn is. They're not going to go into asking around the league. They could do that because he's a former scout. He could easily ask around to see about Danton Lynn. He could if he really wanted to, but he didn't. And that's not going to give him Like, I mean, not that he's sweating for ratings, but everybody is to a certain extent. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, is that going to have the hard hitting impact that saying, okay, Oregon can't get over the hump with Dan Landing because they had the most talented teams in college football and they can't get to the playoff. It doesn't hit as hard because it's not USC. So, well, I disagree with what they're saying, because they're basically telling you that they can't ever play physical football. And that's not really, I mean, they can play physical football. They just need somebody to show them how to play physical football. And the guy who is running their defense now had UCLA playing really physical football. You also have a defensive line coach who is one of the best guys in the world. And it's not about just him coaching Aaron Donald, but Kobe Turner and all those other young defensive linemen on the Rams this year who are going to be on full display this year because of the work he put in, Coach Henney. And then you have Doug Belk, and you also have Coach Entz. Like, I mean, he's not going to go in depth with it. So I don't really fault him. I don't really fault that stuff. And like where he does his show, like having a show that is on the Colin Cowherd podcast network is an accomplishment. So he's not a nobody, but on the other side of it, like Lincoln Riley is literally had one bad season in his entire career. like we really, I mean, like it's like let's just call it like it is. Like the 1 year there was one season in his career where he was out of the mix for everything, and you can't. I mean, everybody can have a bad season. And I think, after the Tulane game, we know that Lincoln Riley should have just fired him then. ASAP. There was no reason to keep him. I would have looked at me personally, if I was the head coach in that situation, I would have said, hey, you know what? I owe it to Caleb to do this.
At bare minimum.
Yes. And everything they're doing right now is just like everything. I mean, and I think it did kind of burn a fire into Lincoln Riley. So now he's cutthroat. Like people talking about Josh Henson. If Henson doesn't come through with the offensive line, he's gone.
That's true.
He's not going to be there next year. So I mean, it's made him more of a like you can be loyal to an extent, but you can be loyal because a head coach has to be loyal to his assistant coaches, but with the understanding is, hey, if you're failing miserably, I can't take the L's.
And we can't afford an SC. Like at the end of the day, like the West Coast ain't good unless SC is good. Let's call a spade a spade. Oregon's had good teams, nobody cares. Washington's had good teams, nobody cares. College football understands when SC is good, the world is good. Like it is what it is. My only pushback, Dwayne, in this sense, right? And I get what you're saying. I 100%, 95% agree with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like you understood if you watched SC football, if you watched Oklahoma football, you knew Alex Grinch was a bad DC. It doesn't take doing deep dives to say, I watched UCLA in the game and I watched USC in the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a deep dive. I don't need a deep dive to do that. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't need to go into the stats. I don't need the metrics. I don't need to go in any of that. I saw how these guys played hard and those guys were missing tackles. I saw these guys were doing what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And were disciplined in what they were going to do, win, lose, or draw.
Yes. Yeah. And they played football last year under Nancy Lynn under some of the worst offensive performances in college football. Like if you go back and watch, Utah, the UCLA at Utah game last year, the offense, I mean, offenses were terrible, but UCLA was sound.
Right.
They were they sound football. They tackled. They made their plays. They only lost. I think they lost the game 14-6. 14-7 because their quarterback, I think, they're more through a pick six in the game.
They only scored on the pick six. That's the problem.
Yes,
They only scored on the pick six.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Be clear on what's going on
Yeah.
here. So
Yes. Yeah.
I don't. That's my problem. Like, I don't need you to be like. I don't need you to do deep dives. I don't need you to go into this whole soliloquy on what's going on and numbers and the metrics, bro. If you watch college football, if you watch USC football and want to comment on that and what we're doing to be different, I don't know if it's better. Let me be clear, because we haven't played it down yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
But I know it's going to be different. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're better,
100%,
but we're different.
Yeah, and like all those games last year, let's just look at it. Let's just take a quick flashback to 2023. You realize that when you watch those games, whether it was the Washington game, whether it was the Washington game, the Utah game, the Oregon game, you realize they were really just one stop away in every single one of those games from that game. I mean, literally just one stop, and they got no stops in those games. So like if they just got one stop in the Utah game, one stop in even in the Arizona game, they won the game, but like the game doesn't go to overtime if they
at all. Cal, we get a stop.
We get a stop. We're asking for one. So like I'm not. Yeah. So I think that D'Anton Lynn and his staff is more than capable of getting. If they just played defense the way they played in the Holiday Bowl, they're going to win. They could possibly win 10 games this year. Easy. Easy. So I understand. Like I said, I understand the podcasting and the broadcasting game. And like I said, I don't want to. Some folks in the comment were like, "Who's John Middlekauff?" I mean, like, dude, like he's pretty accomplished. Like, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna go into trying to diss that part of it, because I listened to him before he was on Colin Cowherd's thing. But to get on Colin Cowherd's thing is not. You're not gonna be.
You have to do something.
You gotta do something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta do something.
Somebody.
Like, you gotta be somebody. Like, you gotta be somebody. Sure. And you gotta have an audience to bring to him too as well. So like, I respect that part of it. But like, to me, like I wouldn't be up in arms if I was USC fans, because like I just don't. I think that this is the only thing missing. And before we talk about like, Juju and some of the stuff, as far as the recruiting goes, the only thing missing from them is the wins. Like they have what appears to be a overhaul, better defensive staff. They have this recruiting class coming in next year that if they held that thing together, it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be this is Pete Carroll type. It is Pete Carroll type recruiting class, right?
I feel like it. Like that's what I said. That's what I said. Coach Henny is like, he reminds me of Coach O. Like Coach O would go, went to Florida and got Big Cat, Leonard Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like he would understand. Coach O wasn't staying in California. He recruited California well, but he went to Florida and he went to the places he needed to go to get the players he needed to get.
Yes.
People forget we went to Louisiana to get Joe McKnight.
Yep.
People forget, like, we went to Tampa to get Mike Williams. Like, let's be honest about what we're doing here.